now for the news review. A lot happening in the news. We shall review nearly all of them at one the time will allow us. And this morning, we're joined by Dr. Akwatia, NPP Communications Director. She's not new to the show. Nanaya Osapon as well, Movement for Change. Quite a sinister mind. He's also not new to the show. Wanda Madilo, Development Analyst and a member of the NDC Communications team as well, not new to the show. Gentlemen, lady, doctor, thank you for joining us today. Yeah, the last time you were on the show when the NPP had supposedly granted amnesty to certain people, you had some sinister comments to make. That's why I had to add that when I was introducing you. But it's good to see you all on the show today.
Good to see you.
Wanda, how are you doing?
Very well.
Okay. Let me start with you, Wanda. It's just Thursday, a day shy to the weekend. A lot has been happening already. What has your attention in the news?
Well, I'm particularly excited about the inflation, producer inflation easing all the way to some 3.8 or so. That spells good for the economy. It spells good for the country. It spells good for trade. And if we're ever going to see proper, meaningful livelihood improvement in our people, these are the channels to admit. And so I'm particularly excited by the turn of events with the CD, with the inflation rates, and then also our fuel prices and all that. So particularly I'm happy. And then also internationally, I'm very happy that Donald Trump is being able to broker some peace between Ukraine and Russia. We didn't know that it was going to be this quick, but I think that some good news is coming along that line. If all the security guarantees that are promised are taken into consideration and all parties will do as required, we should see some stability on the side of global politics. So I'm very excited. Okay,
those are some really why things to be excited about from your economy to outside of it as well.
Very excited because almost all those things does have some impact on the global economy, not Ghana, the global economy. And once there's no peace in the world, it affects everybody. And so that's a worrying trend if you see people at loggerheads and the threat of Third World War, and it's been running for over years now. We thought that it was just going to be Russia, doing their thing in 6 months, 1 month, and it's been on and on and on and on and on.
Okay.
And that we were told some few months ago that is what crippled Ghana's economy, veracity of which has never been proven and all that. So one can only be excited that we're seeing some good news along those lines.
Okay. Doug, good morning again. And what has your attention in the news?
Well, it's something that has been on my mind basically the whole week, and I'm going to read it out to you and explain the circumstances. So this is a post by the Bank of Ghana. It's quite short, so I'm going to read it. So it says, at Convert 25 in London, Dr. Mumuni shared the bank's transformative journey in harnessing Ghana's gold resources through initiatives like the Domestic Gold Purchase Program, Gold for Oil, and the Ghana Gold Coin. Bold policies that have strengthened reserves, stabilized the city, and boosted investor confidence. Solutions are born out of adversities, and Ghana's gold strategy is a testament to that resilience. It was a really nice post when I saw it. I thought we were maturing in our politics to get to a point where we can be honest and not just take on a posture of when you inherit something, everything bad is your predecessor, but everything good dropped from heaven and is a miracle that you've been able to pull off. But coincidentally, immediately after this blew up on social media, the next day the post was edited to remove the mention of Ghana Gold Coin, Gold for Oil, and the Domestic Gold Purchase Program. So I found that to be very interesting and just a great demonstration of pettiness on the side of. And when my brother Wanda was speaking, he was trying to play some mischief with regards to Russia and with the wars that happen around the world. By first admitting it affects the global market, and then going on to say it was used as an excuse. But we have videos, it's on record. They are leading members of the ruling government that have gone to international conferences and boldly admitted the problems that our economy faced as a result of these things, including the assistant president, His Excellency President Mahama. So I'm just hoping we can get mature to a point in politics where when somebody does right, you give them their flowers and admit that, okay, this thing you did is good for the country, it's helping towards our recovery. And when the things are bad, we can all call it out as well.
You don't trust the Ghanaian people to be able to cut through and see through
So that is actually beautiful. I think it takes some time, but usually the Ghanaians, their eyes are usually open to it. It takes some time. It will shock you the amount of effort and resources that goes into shaping the perception of people in Ghana, especially as something that all of us politicians do. So sometimes it takes some time to be able to decipher the truth out of all the propaganda and the chaff that we put out. So I do trust in Ghanaians that they do have the ability to see through all of it. All that requires is some time.
Okay. Anaya.
Yes, good morning to my colleagues and the viewers. First of all, I would want to extend our condolences to Menshia. Today happens to be the 1-week celebration of the passing away or the demise of the Queen of Ashanti. And today, I think the entire of the country and the world will be looking to mourn with the king and also to sign the book of condolence. Alan Chamantin and the team would be there, and for that matter, our condolences to all the Queen Mothers and the chiefs of Ashanti region. On the global front, I think I would want to go the line of wonder. You see, with what is happening, I have been thinking over the days and over the weeks about one thing, that is it that too much of diplomacy, the use of the diplomatic tools that we have is overrated? Because looking at the approach by Donald Trump, I'm trying to wonder the combination of the tools he's using. He's doing quite well, in as much as I look at him with one eye. He's doing very much well. And so we wish that there would be peace so that the economies in the world would all strive to do better. Locally, what is happening lately in the news is that anytime you pick up your phone, there is one accident here or there. And I do not know if it is negligence, carelessness of us. But I think that as human as we are, you should understand that the driver who is by you, behind you, or ahead of you, actually you should take it that that person does not know what he or she is about and that you are in charge. And I would urge that we all become extra careful on our routes. The weather conditions are not so favorable lately, and so we should be extra careful. There's so much, if you're tired, you rest. And those of us who would have to go for refresher courses in driving would have to do that. I think that the companies and the organizations that have employed drivers should take the initiative of doing that. It would help save lives. It would help protect property.
Okay. Well, let's get into the newspapers. Maybe, Doug, what do you have on the Daily Guide?
Okay, so on the front page of the Daily Guide, we have, it actually starts with, we have the men to safeguard Akwatia by-election, IGP says. So that's on the Ablikuma North rerun. 8 arrested over violence, NPP demands action. Then we have plans underway to tackle Kumasi flooding, Works and Housing Minister. 2 women remanded over TikTok assault on Mahama. Wow, that's a packed front page. I will do a little on Ablikuma and the TikTok assault, okay, and we can take it from there. The New Patriotic Party has called on the police to deal decisively with individuals who perpetrated violence during the Ablikuma North election rerun in order to prevent a similar occurrence at the upcoming Akwatia by-election. And it goes on and on. 8 arrested over Ablikuma violence. The Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yuhonu, has announced the arrest of 8 individuals in connection with the violence that erupted during the Ablikuma North election rerun. The 8 suspects, I'm trying to see if they were named. I do not believe so.
As of yesterday,
they were not named. Yes. Okay, but interestingly, at the bottom of this page, there's a photo of one of the TikTokers that was arrested for some comments that were made on TikTok. The 2 women have been remanded into their custody by the Circuit Court in Adenta. And interestingly, I'm noticing a trend with this Adenta Circuit Court for allegedly making inflammatory statements against President Mahama in the aftermath of the helicopter crash that killed 8 Ghanaians on August 6th. The 2, Priscilla Diabrago and another, have been charged with conspiracy to commit a crime and offensive conduct conducive to breaches of peace, contrary to, and it goes on and on. And what I find interesting here is the difference in approach. There's a situation that happened in Ablikuma North. We all saw it. It was well covered by cameras. The videos are all over, quite gory and gruesome, of young Ghanaians that, I don't know, have so much hubris or acts in such a way that they knew nothing was going to happen to them, and they boldly went into polling stations to attack members of the opposition party for doing nothing but observing an election. It's been over a month on that issue. We are now hearing some 8 arrests have been made, and now even with everything that's going on, there's a little mistrust, because funny enough, this is people that have been caught on video committing violence against other people, and they are not named. The 8 suspects are not named. We don't see a picture. There's nothing like that. 2 women speak on TikTok, which, you know, there's always this thought about the difference or where you draw the line between freedom of speech and the responsibility you have for what you say. But when we are in a democracy where we are trying to encourage people to speak freely, I remember one of the things that was said about the former president, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, was that there was a culture of silence or some whatnot, stuff that I found to be completely untrue. But this is beginning to look like a proper culture of silence. Even though the whole country was mourning, we were all mourning with our brothers and sisters from the NDC and the government. And indeed, the whole country was mourning the huge loss that befell us. But the government seems to have time to arrest people for things they said on TikTok. Some are blurry. You don't even understand whether it was said, whether an apology was actually made, whether the person arrested was the one that made the post. You know, it's been a mess, but they found the time and the energy and the effort to be able to arrest these 2 women. The photo is published, the name is published, even her age and what she does is published. But for the people that beat Chris Lloyd, the Deputy National Organizer of the NPP, for doing nothing, we all saw the video. He was literally just standing there and he was attacked. We saw what happened to Hawa Kumsen. The people that did that, we do not need to know their names or their ages or to see pictures of them. I find that quite strange. Okay.
Maybe I should come to wonder for you to respond to here, maybe, before maybe you go into what's in front of the newspapers, except that I'm thinking, Doc, you've said that the videos are circulating, people have seen them, people know who did what. I mean, outside of the legal conversation, what would it then require? Why do we need to name them again if we've seen them, as we're saying?
For the same reason why this woman's photo needs to be here.
Okay.
And then we all remember what happened. Was it last week when a social media activist was arrested in the middle of the night for, you know, we've seen the Rambo style in the approach to curtailing the freedom of speech of certain people. You might not like what was said. It might not be the most responsible speech, but to handle that in a manner that is worse than people that have committed violence.
Yeah.
I find that questionable and very interesting. It's something that we should think about as Ghanaians. Are they being treated differently because of a supposed political affiliation? You know, are these people being named and shamed and put out there because they may belong or they may be affiliated to the NPP? And are the thugs that beat Chris Lloyd and Hawa Kumsin being protected because they were sent by the NDC? These are the questions that are running through the minds of myself, and I'm pretty sure they are running through the minds of many Ghanaians as well.
Very fair things to run through your mind. I wonder, do you have any response to this? At least fair.
I have quite a response, even though we've stopped responding to some of these issues. You see, there's a certain pretense that you get from the NPP lately, and that pretense is a bit nauseating. Why is it nauseating? When they were in government, any arrest made by the police, they say, oh, the police is doing their job, and that they are law enforcement bodies. The government does not arrest anybody. The government is not interested in all of that. Certainly, over this short period, they have found their voice. That now when the police make an arrest, it is a government arrest.
But before that, you are just opposing the situation now as until the previous government. She stayed in the same government, that there are 2 arrests. She can clearly see list and persons, these 2 women. However, she cannot see the list of persons who have been arrested.
The police do not owe anybody any explanation when they do the arrest and how they publish it, how they don't publish it. The newspapers don't belong to the police. The police that do the arrest, the newspapers do go to their, whatever, to do their investigations and get the pictures. The police never release any statement with videos and pictures of whoever they arrested. So I think sometimes it's unfortunate the way we are quick to malign the police. We are quick to say that they are doing the bidding of government, to the extent that she even said she's seen a certain trend with her dental, circuit court. I think that is on a low blow, to start with, because the police does have law enforcement powers to enforce any law they want to enforce. That black woman, they've been shouting and screaming and over the rooftop that no arrests have been made. Now 8 arrests have been made. Somebody is asking for pictures of people who have been arrested. Really? They won't go to court. Do we send pictures to court? We send evidence to court. So for me, it's neither here nor there. The people who made the comment on social media were actually people known already. And so if you mention their name, immediately I can just go on TikTok or wherever, I find their picture and I can publish it. But those who caused the so-called mess in Ablekuma, including Hawa Kumsi, should we publish Hawa Kumsi's image also? Should we publish it? Because you see, one good turn deserves another. In the same way, when you go with violence, you will meet with violence. We are told that this same Hawa Kumsi went to the police station with pepper spray. To do what? To do what? What was in your mind when you left your home with a pepper spray? And so we are not going to be responding to some of these issues. The police will do their job anyhow, anyway, according to the law. And we would back them with all the powers that be. However, let me remind her that when it comes to insulting on social media and arrest, it didn't start today. And I'm just going to go just a few years behind. Under the tenure, they arrested a total of 11 people. And I'm going to mention all of them if she wants me to mention it. What was her conclusion at the time? What was her voice at the time? What did she say about all this at the time? The likes of Bobby and Sa were all arrested under their government for making social media posts. The likes of Captain God's Brain was arrested under their tenure. The likes of Ohiniba Boama was arrested from Holy FM, Power FM, sorry, under their tenure. What did she say? Mensa Thompson of Asepa was arrested. What did she say? And these were all comments that were made on social media.
What do you say to people who say that, or I mean, people are watching us now? Yeah. What do you say to them? Say that, well, there's some things that happened in the previous government, and this is why the NDC government says that they want to reset.
Exactly.
So they find it difficult when there's a comparison between today and yesterday.
That's why we don't want to do these comparisons. The reason we don't want to do this comparison, it looks as though, oh, it happened in the past, it's happening today, and all. That's not what we're discussing here. Under their tenure, they told us that because it was the police that was doing their job, we should let the police do their job.
Is that what you're saying today too?
Exactly, that's what we're saying today.
The police
if it was wrong yesterday, let it be wrong today. Don't suddenly wake up and tell us that, oh, yesterday it was wrong and you came to government, so we think that you should do it rightly. Really? What was your position at the time? Has it changed? If it has changed, tell Ghanaians that what you did in the past is bad or is wrong. Then we can agree that what is happening now is wrong. We also believe that what the police is engaged in at the moment is the right thing. There is freedom of speech, but the law did not guarantee you freedom after speech. You take responsibility for the things you say. So please, let's be decorous in our analysis of these issues. Let's also not be impartial. Sometimes the partiality is crazy. It is the way we analyze some of these issues. Media people were arrested under their tenure, right on set and all that. Some only social media posts. So when did the NPP wake up to some grand scheme by the government to crack down on people and all that? If anybody is tolerable, I mean, Ghanaians in their honest view is tolerable. between President Akufo-Addo and President John Dramani Mahama. You know the verdict. You know where the verdict will lie. So please, at what point did John Mahama become that, kind of a leader that you can't trust when it comes to media freedom any longer? President Mahama himself has been practicing within the media fraternity for all these years. And we also credit Akufo-Addo for practicing within the law fraternity all this. That's when he was in government and we saw some of those infractions of the law, we raised our voices. Surprisingly, it was the same President Akufo-Addo who fought this criminal libel thing when it has to be repealed. And when it was repealed, what did we see under their tenure? So we don't want to go into some of this discourse about NDC or the government of the day hounding people for what they say. No, that's not true. In any case, if you go to court, you're not going to be jailed because the government or the NPP or the NDC brought you to court. It will be based on evidence. What's the fear about? If any of these journalists does feel that going to court, they have the evidence to prove what they are saying, it's fair enough. If you don't have it, the law is the law. Simple.
Okay. Nana, you respond, and then we'll come to what's in front of the newspapers.
Yes.
You noted a few things you want to rebut on. Okay. But Nana.
It's interesting how we tend to theorize and to politicize some of these issues. I'm a Christian and I do not shy away from it. If you read the book of Proverbs 18, the verse 21, it says that life and death lies in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. And so you should be careful whatever you say as a person. In as much as we have freedom of speech does not allow you to have balonious speeches when you have the opportunity. The fact that you would have freedom of speech does not take away responsibility, you being responsible. It doesn't come with irresponsibility. One would have to be careful with whatever you say, even as a person. And you see, the way they use the social media, they forget that we have what we call cyber crime. It falls under it. Cyber harassment, cyber bullying. These are, in my view, serious criminal offenses. Now, how do you go on a live show platform to go and threaten the life of a certain president? How do you go on social media to say that somebody should be killed? What were you thinking? Let us analyze it. What caused the genocide in Rwanda? It was a live radio show. When somebody made a hate speech, that was what caused those 100 horrible, regrettable days of Rwanda. A whole nation collapsed because of one hate speech. And you want us to entertain it? That people can just freely go? And let us understand that.
Is that what you're getting from the submissions so far? I don't think that nobody wants to...
That is what we are encouraging.
How so?
Because if somebody is going on social media to threaten the life of a president, and the law is taking its course, and you want us to believe that it is less of a crime, I do not think you would want us to put an end to it. If it is today he's threatening the life of the president, tomorrow it would be an ethnic group or a tribe, and they would rise up. And then what happens? Let us be cautious. You see, the law does not only hold people responsible or get hold of people just because they want to punish that individual, but to serve as a caution and to also prevent and discourage, be more of a disincentive to many persons who would have the thoughts of it. Yes, you would say that probably the intent of the person was nothing to write home about. The person was just making an empty threat. No. Nobody gets up and picks a phone to make... Are we not ashamed of ourselves today that we have lost culture, we have lost our basic sense of orientation, that anybody at all goes on social media and begins to insult very elderly people, and we clap for them and we say they have followers? And so somebody who has followers goes to Ridge Hospital, does not know what is going on, decides to attack the nurse, goes out there, mobilize more because he has followers on social media. Is that what we want to encourage? Are we not actually over pampering these bloggers and these individuals who are so-called influencers on social media with, excuse my language, the nonsense they are doing?
Okay.
No, let us be real.
How do you feel about the request by Dr. Akwa saying that, well, I'm not saying
whatever that happened,
I'm asking about
whatever
the
that happened with
law.
Howard Kumson was an individual.
Okay.
And I do not think that they have not taken steps to deal with the criminal aspect of it.
Okay.
All right, this is what is happening. Myself, when I heard the news that those youngsters have been arrested and that they have been remanded for 2 weeks, I told myself that 2 weeks, there's someone judging 2 weeks remand. Because if they are first-time offenders, it should be a deterrent. People have, you get 1 Ghana CD with an Android phone, and you see how they go on social media to even address individuals, businesses, businessmen and women, captains of industries. They strip them naked. Some have gone to the extent of affecting daily lives. Some persons have lost their jobs. Anybody at all sits on social media without facts, without knowing nothing, and begins to rain insults, threaten lives. And you see them in person, and you look up to heavens and say, boy. Well, let's be real. Let's are we happy with it? When you see them, let's relate personally to these videos and these trends.
Maybe
you get excited when you see them?
Of course not. I mean, my colleagues were violated as well,
how do you go
to, I cannot be
threaten the life of a sitting president? You see, even if he wasn't president, he's a family man. He's a human being. Where is your respect for human dignity?
Okay. I mean, by this time, we'll be imputing moral lessons in there. But far from that, Doc, the conversation around the IGP and what he has done so far, right? Mm-hmm. Does it give the NPP that confidence in preparing to want to go for the Akwatia by-elections?
Not exactly. Words can just be said, but I will come to that. Let me just quickly respond to a few things that have been said. First, I find this sanctimonious campaign by the government very funny. I'm just going through my phone now to see some of the things key members of the NDC, some of them are even ambassadors now, high commissioners, what they boldly wrote on their social media posts. And on this matter, I can agree with your previous submission that we should all be more responsible about what we write on social media, especially the women in politics. Some of the things we get from people that have simply been paid to write, excuse my language, rubbish under your post, it doesn't make sense. People threaten to kill me under my post. I've not seen anybody kill them. I've seen so many posts from members of the NDC, their social media allies, and leading members spreading fake news to undermine key members of the NPP. They write just terrible, uncouth things about His Excellency Dr. Bawumia, about his wife. People have called for Nanado's head. They've called for him to be killed. There are videos of very key members of the NDC singing songs advocating for the death of the former president, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And we are not saying all these things are good and should be continued. But you don't do all of that for 8 years, come into government and want to behave like you're a saint. That's exactly what we are talking about. And to say that the police does not post things with pictures or whatever is also very far from the truth. When Fanti Comedy and Co were arrested, this is the post that was made on the Ghana police pages on social media, showing their pictures handcuffed and a statement and all of that. So it is in their practice, and if they wanted to show us these 8 people, they would have. But I'm not going to go too much into the conduct. But let's not sit here and behave brand new, like all this is happening just came from nowhere. You were in opposition, you told the people of Ghana that the current president was a tyrant. There was a culture of silence. But you're sitting here this morning to tell us that only 11 people were arrested. You've been in government for 7 months or 8 months, and I'm pretty sure you've almost reached the 7. So shouldn't we be worried? It was during your time in 2016 that 3 journalists said really unsavory things about the current Chief Justice at that time, things I cannot repeat. The justice was trying to take his course, and they were granted amnesty. So let's not sit here and behave brand new. Certain things are bad and which they should be condemned across the board. But when in the application of the law in some of these things, it's very selective. That's where the problem is. Okay. Number 2, there was an issue of bail being granted, and we have to start respecting institutions in this country if we want to have any progress. Bail is granted, then the person is still kept in police custody. And I'm sure my colleagues will come up with, again, other things, situations of that have repeated. But as you asked him, and I was very happy about that question, you promised to be better. Which one of the bail cases are you referring to? Anti-comedy and even Sir Obama. In fact, when the last time he was supposed to leave, then a complaint was filed by I think the current High Commissioner to the UK or something, a leading member of the NDC, and I can read to you what the post is, and if you think that warranted that amount. All he said was, Zita, you won't get away with this, trust me, just wait for it here. And this is on Facebook. So if you say just wait for it here would mean Facebook, and I'm not even going to try to explain, but this is one of the things that had him held up. It looks like a deliberate witch hunt, a deliberate attempt to intimidate people and shut them down, which should not be countenanced. Again, we want to treat Honorable Hawa Kumsen, who is a victim in this matter, as some kind of instigator, like she went there throwing blows. When we've all seen the video, I've seen leading members of the NDC over and over, instead of them to show some kind of humanity with the whole process, going on about this pepper spray. But we all saw the video. But
the Deputy IT and Election Director, Rashid Tanko, says that I think a leading member of the NDC visited Hawa Kumsen at home. I don't see why that doesn't show humanity. Oh, no, but yes, I'm talking in response to what has been said here this morning. Like she went there to cause a fight, or that she caused herself to be beaten, instead of condemning the act and talking continuously going on about this pepper spray. But we all saw the video of how the men lunged at her. So it's not a matter of any provocation on the side of Hawa Kumsen. I just wanted to set the record straight on that. And the same Deputy Director of Election and IT, I've also seen, every time he's asked about this Ablikuma North violence, the first thing he talks about is this pepper spray. I probably know they sat around the table and found that that's something they can pull on. But it's not good enough. It's not like she went there agitating anybody. It's bad, it's bad. Let's condemn it generally.
We don't have a problem if this is bad to say it's bad. We have a problem with the people who have championed this cause. She sits here this morning and tells us that we shouldn't create the impression as though Hawa Kumsen went to the station to cause havoc or to, whatever. You remember Ayawaso Wesogo? Did you hear of a sitting member of parliament, Sam George, was molested, abused, beaten, and there is a report that stated who should be prosecuted, who should not be prosecuted. The president at the time even went ahead to issue a white paper. Some of the things he actually threw off, some he even agreed to be done. What's the outcome of that? You've been in government for how long? 4 years. Because that election was somewhere prior to the 2020 election.
So I'm coming. Can we ever have, just a second, let me just take a second and I'll give it back to you. Can we ever make progress?
Yes, we will.
In such conversations, because we will never make progress. If it wasn't good yesterday, it's
good.
We
make progress.
Bad is bad at Ayawaso West.
I agree.
Bad is bad at
Good, we agree. The only problem is that they say that the messenger is as good as the message.
So who should talk about it?
Don't be pretentious in such requests. Don't become a Ghanaian all of a sudden.
So if the CPP, for example,
for instance,
as political party talked about it.
If we have people who found their voices at the time, find their voices again today, we're fine. But not people who pretended. Nobody visited St. George throughout that process. Not one person from the NPP. In fact, there were even cases in Techiman South and all the others that even the sitting president has not even made a phone call to the families.
Same set of facts.
Please, let's not
get into this. Same set of facts. If movements for change,
because of Talensi, Treponi, and everything that happened before, if you are trying to say that what happened at Ablikuma was retaliation by our
nobody said that. No,
because from your line of argument, you are trying to say because it happened before, it happens again.
He's right here.
We are not Ghanaians.
Did you condemn that at the time it happened? If you didn't, please keep quiet.
You know that. No, you cannot tell me to keep quiet
and tell us that something was wrong in Ablikuma.
The hubris of the
I moderate this conversation.
You are in government now.
Okay,
you have the right to tell people to keep quiet. Why should I keep quiet?
Okay, withdraw the keep quiet and then I'll give you the time.
No, I'm not talking about keep quiet as in here. I'm saying that those who make that noise,
nobody is going to keep quiet.
Those who are beginning to pretend today that all of a sudden everything is wrong with what is happening are pretending and they should keep quiet.
So I have a question.
Now, go ahead.
My question is, if Movement for Change, for example, is the political party or the stakeholders
those are credible
talked
voices.
about, how differently will you deal with this Ablikuma North rerun?
We would deal with that because that is from an honest view.
How else would you deal with it?
How else we're all condemning. We all agree that what went wrong is bad. We already know that. But for the NPP to all of a sudden wake up from their slumber and tell us that, oh, what is happening is so bad that this is the first time it's happening in governance. This is what we are talking about. That's a pretense. If you want to be minded about being genuine, being honest, and being truthful with what has happened, you condemn what happened in the past. Till today, even on this show, I wish you would have said, oh, we are sorry for what happened in the past. It shouldn't happen again. But you have not condemned what happened in Ayawaso. You have not condemned what happened in Techiman South. You have not condemned what happened in many of the other places. That to the extent that we have even lost lives. You are talking about injury to Hawakumsum. What about cases where we lost 8 lives in one election? What happened to that?
So why are you starting from there? Why not go far back?
On the issue of bills and institutions working, I just want to say a very good morning to Paul Afoko and his brother Gregory Afoko. And I know Paul he says he's in his farm. I don't know if you make his way to Menchia this morning. And so I believe that we have come to a point where we all are agreeing that we should allow state institutions to work. And we are all agreeing that some of the issues that had happened before and now are not the best. And you see, this is the more reason why we are advocating that Ghanaians should give an alternative, an opportunity to lead this nation. You sounded very much frustrated when there was back and forth, and you asked a very good question, that for how long are we going to go on like this? Would it lead to any progress as a nation? It wouldn't lead to any progress as a nation because everybody thinks that, hey, we have come and whatever we are doing is good. You see, the what he has said. Until you step aside and to look behind, you will not know that what you're doing is wrong. I think that we are learning from our lessons, and Ghanaians will take a decision in no time. We have gotten to a point where even the very young ones who, like us, who are also coming into the arena of politics, things that, listen, we need to defend anything at all that comes because it is clothed in our political colors. And it is very much wrong. I spoke against it when Paul Afoko's brother was granted bail and was refused the bail. At the time, this woman went to Yoko and built a statue for herself. I've forgotten her name. She was the head of CID. I've forgotten her name. I'll try to get it. But I think the viewers would recall, she built a statue at Yoko for herself. She was CID boss.
She didn't build the statue for herself.
Well,
Madam Tiwa didn't. But she didn't.
See,
she was the former boss there, but she didn't.
So you see, at the time, a bail was granted. Every single condition of the bill was met. But yet, the gentleman was refused. He was in the cooler for close to 8-9 years. We spoke about it, so we would have the moral right to speak about it today. That is where it stands. It is hard time we take away the hypocrisy in our politics and deal with matters as Ghanaians, and also think that indeed, today as you sit here on this table to discuss this matter, tomorrow you would come back here, and if you have not discussed it properly and another issue in relating to that same matter comes up, you will not be able to speak.
We'll bite you. Okay.
Just for records, Tiwa Dankwa.
Tiwa Dankwa, yes, Madam Tiwa Dankwa.
You'd allow me to...
Please, just respond to that, and we'll go to what's next.
Very quickly. So I find it a little strange that we resort to a posture of shouting this morning, but I'll go into it. And just on the same tangent you did, by your thinking or by your argument this morning, because something happened in Ayawaso, we have no moral right to speak. We should shut up. Even though we are the biggest opposition party, we should not do our democratic duty, and we should shut up because something happened in Ayawaso. But what they seem to forget, or what they probably want people to conveniently forget, is before Ayawaso, everything that happened. Going back as far as the 90s, there were elections that were so violent that the NPP had to pull out of the subsequent parliamentary election just because of how much violence was unleashed on us during the presidential election at that time. So don't sit here and ask brand new. If you are going by that same analogy, then you should have never had a voice to complain about Ayawaso. But we are sitting here to try and say that we are moving away from all of that. It was after Ayawaso and after the Commission of Inquiry and everything that changes were made. After the killings, changes were made, and now the police don't have any arms when they go to the polling station. And it's something that we all think should be looked at again, especially because of what happened at Ablekuma North. There was a very conscious effort by the NPP to disband all vigilante groups because it was getting out of hand and it was deteriorating, and we wanted to create a situation where we could depend on our security agencies for election security. So don't sit here and act brand new and tell people to shut up because of something. When, if you use that same analogy, then you should not have any voice at all to speak on this matter.
Okay.
Just for a point of information, the NPP in the 90s, 1992, did not boycott the parliamentary elections because of violence. Yeah.
It was one of the reasons. Are you right now the spokesperson of the NPP?
No. At the time, at least, at the time, some of us were in the NPP.
It was one of the reasons. Yes, I'm saying that as a rep of the party on this show.
And Professor Dubois and lawyer R.I. did not present
that violence
it was violence.
The reason why.
That was the reason why they boycotted the 1992.
It's been widely debated, though.
Yes, it's widely debated. I'm telling you,
this is history.
That is one of the reasons.
It is one of
and then if you want to talk about the
90s,
we can talk about Talensi, we can talk about Cheponi. I gave you
I don't have a problem, but I mean, let's set the record straight when it comes to boycotting of the parliamentary.
I am telling you that was believed. Yes, it was one of the reasons that went into that. Okay, rep of the party.
Yes, I just wanted to put that.
Thank you.
If you felt offended by my comment, I can take it back. But personally, I'm a very principled person. If it's no, it's no. If it's yes, it's yes. My position on this matter is simple. That the NPP begins to present the Ghana love rather than the party love. You see, and that is what worries us when it comes to politics. Today, we are told that, the NDC is doing some things they don't like. And already we are hearing people say, wait until we come to power. Right in the midst of the discourse, when we are discussing maybe the national agenda or whatever. So right in the midst of the discourse, we have people who are threatening already. In fact, even the Akwatia election that we haven't even talked about yet, what did their national youth organizer say? National organizer say? He said they are coming to Akwatia very prepared to defend themselves, because in their mind, what happened at what's the name? Ablekuman is likely to repeat itself. Even when the police have gone ahead to say that there are only 116 police stations in Akwatia, but the police are deploying over 600 policemen. That means like 2 or so per. About how many? About 5 or so per police station. And I think that the NPP should learn to trust institutions when they are not in power. You see, when they are in power, because of the things they do, and sometimes their own, let me just use the word empty bravado. They think that out of power, all of these institutions will pander to their interests. If you got them to do something for you when you are in power, don't think that that's how it's going to be. That's not the standard. Our constitutional provisions, our laws are clear on how some of these institutions should be run, and not pander to the whim and caprices of any political party, be it in government or out of government.
Okay.
So suddenly when they are out of government, they realize that no, they don't wield such control again over some of those institutions. And then all of a sudden they feel naked, and then all of a sudden everything is wrong. However, when in power, everything is right. At what point did the NPP realize that the police are not competent enough to man the elections? We now even have NPP people tell us that the EC should be removed. Some few months ago, everything was right with the EC. So you see, it is the double standards, the double-edged, kind of sword, mouth, it's what worries us as perhaps players within the political fraternity.
Dr. Akwa, 5,000 policemen to be deployed to Akwatia. That's some number for one constituency. The NPP still doesn't believe in the police machinery to at least bring some calm if there's any chaos, violence, which we're not expecting.
Of trust, and then if funny enough, I do see some comments on social media that now there's been some sort of switch. But for us in the NPP, we criticize the actions of institutions. We try, especially myself, I criticize the actions of institutions, not their person, not to paint them black in general. So the actions. If the police does something today and is good, we'll sit here and talk about it is good. If the police does something today and is bad, we will talk about that action, because that's what we are supposed to do as an opposition party.
But if you go there defending yourself on September 2, subsequently there are going to be a lot of things happening in this country, and you definitely have to depend on the police. At what point would you ever have the full confidence in the police?
So as I was saying, there's obviously been a breakdown of trust. I don't know if it's that because there's some time has passed, people are forgetting the very terrible images we saw. And it wasn't an absence of police. There was police presence there. In the assault of Chris Lloyd, our deputy national organizer, there was like a wall of policemen standing there. And so it brings some questions to your mind. Were they asked to stand down? Were they outnumbered? Like, what exactly was going on? Because it wasn't an issue of police being unavailable. They were standing there. It happened in full glare of the police people. And with the matter of Chris Lloyd, there was only one policeman I saw who tried to come to the aid of that gentleman. And he was obviously outnumbered. And there were colleagues around. So there's been a breakdown of trust. So if after seeing all of that, it hasn't been too long, it's just a month or so, would you, as any well-meaning and well-thinking person, go into another election having any trust in the police? This is it's just a matter of relating with people and trust that is lost. So we would have to see them prove themselves at Akwatia if they want that trust back in the system. But obviously, we are not going to allow ourselves to be brutalized just like that. And then when we talk about it, we are told that because of Ayawa, so we saw very terrible commentary coming out of the NDC after the Ablekuma North issue.
Wanda, what do you have on the newspaper that you have?
Ahama was Japanese investors, and
right.
That is so much of interest to me.
Okay. Yeah, yesterday we did that news. We brought the update that they're reviewing the GIPC Act that requires that a foreign business would have some minimum capital. They're reviewing, at least make it a bit easy for them to enter the market. There's also another interesting part, Doug and Nana, that there's some KPIs that are going to be set for ambassadors or envoy outside the country, so that they can meet a certain level of KPI. Nana, let me start with you. Did you see that news?
Yes, I saw it, but the quick one before I come to that about the 5,000 policemen in Akwatia. Akwatia has a history, and I had said on many platforms that even considering what had happened in,
want to assure Ghanaians that
in Ablekuma in just recent time, the National Election Security Task Force strategy purely had failed. You understand? And I would want us to all understand that the number of policemen, in as much as numbers matter, that you take to a battlefield or to protect whatsoever you want to do or for the purposes of security, does not out or cannot outsmart your strategy. It is your strategy that would work. And so we would urge the IGP to let us understand the reviews that has been done when it comes to election security. Because what happened in 2024, what happened in Ablekuma, just says that that strategy failed. I mean, he inherited that strategy. And definitely the task force would have to sit and review it. You should let us know if there has been some reviews in that strategy that they had presented to Ghanaians in 2024. And I think it was just a review of it after 2020. And in 2020, you saw what happened in Techiman. So the strategy is what matters. The 5,000 people, when they go and they have no strategy and it cannot work, it cannot work. You understand me? Yes, as she said, we saw policemen standing, watching, looking. People were being harassed. You understand me? This is not the first time. It's happened before. And so we should be looking at the security strategy when it comes to the election. So maybe, the KPIs. Okay.
In fact, before we go to the KPIs, and I brought this up, but I'm just thinking some years ago, before elections, you either have the Electoral Commission do a bit of education, NCC will do some education. Some of the things they say that I have heard is, if you don't have any business at the polling station, don't go there. If you vote, you can go back and all. Now, the questions have been asked that the NPP said they were not going to contest the Ablekuma North rerun. So they are asking, what did Hawa Kumsin go there to do? And I ask this question not because I think she deserves what happened to her at all, but what do we do? Because there's always that cascading effect. And anytime there's election, no matter how much education, no matter how much you've spoken to people, tensions are nearly likely to rise.
Elections are elections. My dear, elections are elections. Personally, I take personal security and personal safety as a priority. Yes, of course. I had questioned the reason why Hawa Kumsin would want to go to Ablekuma. I've questioned why persons who do not have a direct interest would want to go to Ablekuma. You get me? Why would I want to go to Akwatia? I don't vote in Akwatia. I am not on the ballot. I am not part of the constituency. I am not a constituency executive. I am not a national executive. Probably not part of the elections operations directorate. What are you going to do there? Whatever you want to do, you can monitor it from home. Whatever strategy that ought to have been done would have been done before the D-Day. You understand? So you're going there, all the MPs, former ministers moving there. To what effect? Let's take it this way.
Solidarity.
Should the entire country decide to move to Akwatia, would we have space? Because we all have an indirect interest. We all do have an indirect interest. So should all of us move to Akwatia, then what happens? You understand me? Let us not. If you have no business there, you have no business there. And this education you're talking about, in fact, they did it. I mean, the police were announcing it on TV and on radio. If you don't have anything to do at the polling station, do not come there and all of that. But we still found people going there. And just to add up, when the police, they are at post and at the polling stations and anybody at all comes there, no matter who the person is, a minister, a former minister, an MP, a former MP, councillor of state, whosoever, the person should be searched.
Okay.
The person should be searched.
A dog is here.
Surprisingly, you see, when they such personalities are moving, they don't move alone. They move with 10, 5, 16, 20 people.
Okay.
They don't move in one car. So at the end of the day, the polling station that is supposed to probably accommodate just a few hands of people for there to be clarity and transparency for a moment ends up being crowded.
But surely we have conducted elections for years in this country. The police or whatever security service that's put in charge would anticipate such situations.
Yes.
Looking at the real character of elections.
But the point is that these personalities, when they are coming, they will come and the police would want to, you know, oh, he's a former MP. And he or she is coming and they come with 3, 4 cars full of people.
Okay, Doc, have we been concerned to want to find out why the party said that they were not contesting the Kuma North rerun? We still had Howard Kumsin go there. Of course, at the base level, she's a citizen. Nothing legally prevents her from going there. But
she's the leading member of the new.
Absolutely.
So, you know, there were some issues around the contesting the Kuma North. The party had issued a directive, and unfortunately, the candidates thought she wanted to contest or whatever. When that happened, most people decided to rally around her, and it was just on. And I think even the main reason why we went to Ablekuma gets lost. This is a polling station where everything was supposedly done. It's left with 3 polling stations. Give us security, let us collate, and then it turns into let's rerun 19 polling stations. It was the position of the New Patriotic Party that was all illegal. It was a farce. And so we were not going to engage out of principle. But when she decided to contest, you can also not just leave her on her own to the wolves. Imagine if all the people that turned up didn't turn up, and then the violence that the NDC had planned for us was unleashed on Jessica Free. It would have been very unfortunate, and I think the New Patriotic Party as a family would have felt very hurt if we didn't go and support her. Howard Kumsin is a former member of Parliament, so the Women's Caucus was heavily supporting Ekefri. Yeah. The members of Parliament were supporting her when she decided to contest. And indeed, there were even some national officers that were also sent there. That's how come Chris Lloyd was there. So let's not sit here and behave like it's strange for leading members of political parties to be present at centers of by-election.
In the contest, not that it is strange. Of course, I would expect that.
Yeah, because there were a lot of
the fact that you were not going to contest is what makes it.
You imagine. So this is always the analogy that we like to give. If you send your child outside, you told the person not to, your kid not to go outside. The child goes outside and there's an issue. Are you going to leave them to their own devices?
Good question to ask.
So it is the indiscipline of the party that caused the mess. Her own narration. If the party had taken a central decision that we're not contesting the election, and your candidate decides otherwise, or your son decides otherwise, and you suddenly found the space to accommodate your son or your daughter's view, what do? Don't you think you should communicate? Should we not even know the people who are your polling agents ahead of time? Should we not even know your plans at the end of the day? So it's neither here nor there. It's the indiscipline of the party in that election that caused the mess. If you say you're not going to contest the elections, and then plans were made, of course, obviously, at that point, the security wouldn't have been dealing with you because you clearly stated publicly that you're not going to contest in the elections. If you said you were contesting, then suddenly you would have been brought to the table to have some of those security brief meetings on how proceedings will go on the day of elections. I've been involved in several elections, and you will observe that even in a constituency where there will be an election to be held, the director of security in the area or in the vicinity or within the constituency briefs all the political parties. All the election directorate men are sent there. They are told where the ballot boxes will be kept, when it will be picked up, which reps should be there, who should be on duty, and all that. All these are arrangements that are done prior to the election. So you don't suddenly wake up on the day of election out of your own indiscipline, come to the election grounds with ammunition ready to fight, and then you.
Did she come with ammunition?
Who else came to that grounds with any other tool apart from being assaulted with the hand? She came with an adapted, weapon.
How are we doing this?
So please, we should not get into some of this kind of things. I know that somebody was assaulted.
Assaulted with what? Doc, help my naivete. What did she go there with?
should tell us. Ammunition. She went there with an AK-47. And how is that any justification for a woman
it is not just holding the pepper
beaten?
spray. It wasn't the case of just holding the pepper spray. The young man who jumped to go and do whatever he did saw her spray. We all saw the videos.
You saw it. Can you play the video again?
Had the pepper
You
spray.
will find Ghanaians and see the comment.
You want to see
let's go to the JIPC.
It was the comment.
I've already apologized to you, but you're going back to that.
I didn't understand. You are now trying to blame her Akumsin for being.
What did she
You are
go there
blaming
with
her for being.
First of all,
how?
Gentlemen and lady,
Gentlemen and lady.
on the floor.
Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
fine.
I appreciate. So you see, a quick bite on it. Now, you cannot blame Madam Akwatia, the former MP, that's her name, for pushing to contest in that election. The people of Ablikuma were not going to vote for MPP. They were going to vote for her. She only used the MPP as a vehicle.
So why didn't you stand for independence?
No. The investment she has made as a person, you understand me, her integrity as a person, as an individual, what she was fighting to protect. Of course, the party had taken a decision. We sit here, we are not able to tell or ascertain whether or not the party even consulted her.
She was consulted.
You understand? We are not able to ascertain whether or not she agreed to.
Since she apologized, I like to think that
So,
she was consulted.
you see, the point is, well, you have invested in a constituency and a group of people sit and come to tell you not to go and contest. You would know, you will feel the pain in it. But the point is this, you see, whether it is a weapon or it's an ammunition, it was illegal. We have laws of this in this country. Whether a jackknife, whether a pepper spray, whether a pistol whatsoever, it was illegal. Number two, people take into account history. The history that surrounds the person in question. This is somebody who has been to a polling station and has triggered a sidearm before in her own constituency. And so the history that surrounds her would put people on the edge when they see her.
But it's not your duty. The police is
No,
there.
I'm not justifying the actions. But I am telling you that the history that surrounds
my right brain wants to go to the JIPC conversation, and my left brain is still staying here. But maybe I should move both there because we'll go on, and it's still some few days to the Akwatia election, and so we'll.
And let's not.
Go on the JIPC
In my submission earlier, I did not say that if you are a national executive whatsoever, you should not go. I said I gave categories of.
I think you made clear that.
And I made that very clear.
Okay, so Wanda. The reason why the initial requirement of minimum capital it was something that existed is, of course, the excesses that will happen when a business starts or an investor starts a business in Ghana.
I thought you were going to have a bite on the KPI.
It's under the minimum requirements. When we finish, then we'll go to the KPI.
Okay.
All right? Yeah.
So there were,
do we need to review it? What's wrong with the law?
There were underpinnings based on which we decided that in order to invest minimum $200,000 or so. The reason was to protect the local businesses. One, you don't want to see a Chinese coming to this country selling agbo because what we call the entry barrier into business is low, and if it's low, anybody can enter. So you raise the bar for foreigners such that they won't find themselves in selling on tables or tabletops or in shops or doing retail business that is reserved for big indigents. So that was one, to protect that. But Ghana is growing, and we're growing in several areas. In the past, at the time we're doing this, was more of an agrarian economy, largely. But today we have an economy that is led by the services. Services in technology, services in other provisions of services. In fact, even in construction, you have the service sector being provided. So what government is trying to do now is not to just lower the barrier or the cutoff point. You are dropping the cutoff point. There will be other institutional arrangements that you need to meet. For instance, you will need, if you are bringing, let's say you are bringing paint into this country, you will need to go through the Ghana Standards Board. you will need to bring in a certain volume, and then you need to do a warehouse, and then there will be demarcated areas for some of those businesses, so you don't go outside of it. It was also based on this we created what we call the free zones, enclave that we had in Tema. Now we have the new free zones also coming up. We also had industrial areas in Accra and in Tema and all that stuff. And some of this was to help them to create an enabling environment. So when the president says they're going to drop, or review that, part of it is to create an enabling environment. Now you can be a foreigner and buy land, as it were. You can lease and do your business, but you can't own the land. Some of these reforms will come into place. Number two, land tenure system in this country is the major reason for which businesses or foreign direct investment don't see a lot of progress, because people have a lot of litigation when it comes to land. That's why under our first tenure, we created the Dawa Industrial Park. That industrial park was to allow foreigners to come in, because those lands are litigation free. Government was building warehouses, building systems like we have in free zones for people, for foreigners to come into the country with their companies and don't have to worry about electricity, don't have to worry about water, don't have to worry about the structure, don't have to worry about the land, because all that would have been acquired by government. You just need to come in, pay your rent, and you start business. So those are the controls that will come in to safeguard the influx of foreigners coming into our retail business and destroying our business. Some time ago, you recall that Guta was up in arms with some, other foreign entities over sale of, goods in the market. I think that is right. It's good to leave that for the indigenes to also.
So you believe that in 8 months, for 8 months in government, the government has been able to sanitize all these areas, and it's okay?
No, I'm saying that it's an ongoing conversation.
Okay.
Some of them are already being done. For instance, when you talk about the 24-hour economy, part of the plank of that is to create an enabling environment, which is electricity, water, land, and all the factors of production. That is being done. What the president is talking about currently is how we can lower the bar so that they can come into some of these spaces that are being created to fill out the gaps.
Okay. Doug, do you have any response to this?
Yeah, but I'm still trying to recover from the shock of the lines of argument I'm getting from the two men that I'm sandwiched in between this morning on this incident.
Why would you say two men? Two colleagues.
No.
We are seated here.
Because we are talking about the assault of a woman. When I saw the video, I couldn't believe it. She was on the floor. She was being kicked in the stomach. It was
it's my meeting. No, gentlemen. I need her to be in her very best self to talk about the GIP. She says she's recovering.
The gender card will not help.
Why is the gender card not going to help?
Why not?
Why is the gender card not going to help?
I'm sitting right by you here.
No. I think it's
why not?
It should be
I'm sitting right here.
Okay, we are live TV. They should see you when you're off TV.
That the woman, the former member of parliament, and the former minister.
We're sorry for
it's terrible. And no, you should not try and dance around it. And what was she doing there? And is the person, even if an armed robber or a murderer is arrested, convicted, and the police is sending that person to the prison,
they
protect that person from being assaulted. How much an innocent? It's bad. It's bad. What we want to see is the arrest of these people. We want you to see do something about it, so that we don't keep doing the same thing.
Yes. Don't make anybody feel that anybody has endorsed the action.
They all listen.
Listen, she said that she is still recovering.
Recovering from where?
I'm all for the recovery. We're both recovering.
From what?
A lot of things allow us.
Yeah, so I don't understand. Like, you should look at it through a more compassionate lens. On this matter of reducing again, it's another matter. I don't really understand the stance of the government. On one arm, they seem to want to take a posture of being very tough in negotiations. We've seen some of the posturing when it comes to dealing with the Americans. We've seen social media banter going on between American, I think it was a senator or a congressman and our foreign affairs minister. On the other hand, you want to drop a minimum capital, which is just $200,000, if I'm not wrong, which is, it's not too much for...
GIPC minimum capital?
The GIPC investment.
The foreign direct investment. They are trying to drop it from $200,000 to what? Let's look at the landscape of our country and the business landscape of the country. What kind of company would you, or what kind of business would you want to set up in this country that would require less than 200,000 to do? This is going to do exactly as we are foreseeing. It's going to kick a lot of small and medium Ghanaian businesses out because they are going to come with more technology. And indeed, they are going to come with more than the 200,000 you are scrapping. And then they will muscle Ghanaians out of it. So then you hear Guta come up again and all of these issues are going to come in. I don't think as a country we should continue to sell ourselves short in a matter like this. If you want to go and invest anywhere in the UK or in the US, the thresholds are very high. I think in the US it's about 2 million or something like that. So if Ghana is set at quite modest figure of 200,000, because I don't see what kind of industry you are going to be able to set up with that amount. If you take it down, what you are doing is creating a situation. Okay, what you are doing is creating an environment where local Ghanaian businesses are going to be muscled out. So I don't really understand the direction that the government is taking with their foreign policy. Are they taking a tough stance or are they taking a very soft baby stance?
Okay.
So let me provide information. I think that under the GIPC Act,
yes, Section 27, yes.
Yes, it talks about foreign investments must meet minimum equity requirements.
Yes.
And one, joint venture is 200,000. Then wholly owned foreign enterprise is 500,000.
500,000.
And then trading companies, regardless of Ghanaian participation, is $1 million.
$1 million. Yes.
Dollars.
Yes.
All this is dollars.
That's why I was a bit confused when you were mentioning 200,000.
No. We're using the 200 because that's the easier way of entry. So with the 200 is when you decide to join.
It's a joint venture. Let's create,
and a Ghanaian business.
Let's create the. Let's make people understand the clarity.
I'm coming.
Okay.
Because
that's the area they explore. The reason I'm talking about.
You would understand where I'm coming from. When we present it as though it is $200,000 to have a business in Ghana, all right, and we do not make Ghanaians understand that it has to do with a joint venture. Okay, you would create a wrong.
That's what I'm saying.
It's giving clarity to it. Give clarity to it.
I'm saying that largely that's the area they explore. That's the area they come to. I wish this is not lowered. The others can be lowered because this one talks about you and I having a joint venture. For you to be able to be part of that joint venture, you must produce 200,000, which is like 10% of the company worth. And that's the area they come because almost all the foreign investors who come to this country come through others. So they explore that angle. But if you decide to do wholly own, you want to own it, no Ghanaian participation, you need to produce $500,000. Okay. And then if you decide to do trading, let's say the paint environment that I mentioned, for instance, you want to come and trade in paint in Ghana, you want to bring it from abroad, and so you're going to play within virtually the retail business. You need $1 million.
That's to make it a lot difficult for you,
exactly.
So you don't take out the local.
So already the law does have a structure that prevents easy entry into some of those spaces.
Okay. Nanayo.
Yes, I think, those who would want to do further research could look into the Act.
The Act, the GIPCI. Yeah.
I think from Section 27 down gives those categories. But you see, there are reasons why we go out there to go and look for investment. And this is based on the policy direction of the government. Any government that comes out with a policy direction would want to find very attractive ways to ensure its implementation. And looking at the way they want to go, maybe they would want to have, they are going the way of industrialization, and so they would want to create more attractive incentives for more direct foreign investment. But there are reasons for the GIPC laws, if we would want to review them in line of trade. Now, there are reasons, one, to protect the local jobs, okay, and the menial trades that we have. If we are not careful also, we would end up losing every single thing. I'll give you an example. Now, when you drive along where we have a lot of foreigners living, okay, the Spintex, the cantonments, you would even find barbering salons, okay, that are being manned by foreigners. Okay, you have very small coffee shops that are being manned by foreigners. These are supposed to be treats for locals. You understand me? Now, when we are able to also create more jobs in this country, what happens is that we are able to control the issues of brain drain, whereby persons are trained and they go out there with their skills. And we are also able to regulate, or for lack of a better expression, control competition, unnecessary competition in our market, because these foreigners would definitely and would always have a competitive edge over us. We are looking at a situation where, as just the producer price inflation is coming down, interest rates will be coming down, we are able to handle the forex, and then the banks, with all humility, will be sensitive, okay, would be patriotic, and they would have the nation's interest at heart in order to reduce their interest rates. Now, these foreigners in their countries are getting loans or business loans in the single digits. Okay, so a Chinese would go for a loan from the Bank of China or whichever bank in China for 2 to probably 5%. They would get same in England and in other places. A Ghanaian businessman, a captain of industry, would go to any of the banks, and probably is getting it at 27% or 26%. You do not expect to be able to compete with somebody who is coming into your country with a loan that is paying an interest of 2 to 5%. These are some of the things that we should be looking at. Of course, we have other trump cards that we can use to be able to win these investors. I mean, if you look at the entire of the sub-Saharan Africa, we are the most peaceful nation. We have a very stable political atmosphere. Whether elections or these are just packet of violence. But if you compare us to other nations, you think that we have the AFCFTA that sits here and that people are able to take advantage of. And these are some of the things that is actually attracting most of these foreign industries into the country. And with the 24-hour economy, I think that we have stated from the movement, yes, indeed, it is good, but there are other factors that we need to be able to deal with to stabilize them in order to be able to meet these. It's the way you want to industrialize, you want to create more jobs, then we should be dealing with the issues of our energy, we should be dealing with the issues of security, we should be dealing with the issues of actually training persons, apprenticeship persons, to be able to create the jobs for them. Now, we would have these foreign investors come to create these jobs in the country and these industries in the country. And you look at the labor organogram they have in their institutions or organizations. They will tell you that they are going to do what we call transfer of technology and all of that. But I beg to differ. I always say that at the level where that transfer can take place, you don't find the locals there.
Okay,
but if we're able to create that atmosphere, to be able to put our locals at the top, then there would be...
This review is not going to be difficult if you're able to create the right atmosphere. What about the KPIs? So from September 1?
I mean, for the KPIs, even when the appointments had started, we had stated from the Movement for Change that there is the need for every government to create KPIs for their appointees, just like every single organization. You understand? So that these appointees will not just go and sit. I mean, not just the ambassadors. You would have the MMDCs. When we were doing the one district, one factory, some of the MMDCs were complaining, if you embalm a constituency, if you embalm a district, they would come and you tell them to go and sit and even bring a business plan or a proposal. Find persons within their districts, and they should sit and identify which raw materials that are in their district and which industry that can be created in their district, that they would be able to locally source 70% of the raw materials for production. It takes them years to come to you. But if indeed they had a district development plan, if it is part of their KPIs that they should be able to have a district development plan whatsoever, okay, to bring on the table. They are supposed to do A, B, C, D. I think they'll be up and doing. Some of these ambassadors, I'm sorry to say, but they just, it becomes more like a holiday scene for them. They go and they sit, especially with the areas where you would not need visas from them to be able to come into this country. They will tell you there is nothing, and they are always back home every time they are in the country. But if they have very tight KPIs, All right, they would set up.
Do you envisage a particular type of KPI you would recommend? What kind of KPI, like create? Because if
What is the role of an ambassador? What is your core mandate at the basic level? If you're an ambassador to the United States, just like my boss was an ambassador during first time. I mean, look at his achievements when he was ambassador. The oil stuff they did, the agua and all of that they brought into the country. You get me? I mean, you are an ambassador, you're a diplomat. Aside the diplomatic role or the international relations that you need to manage, you are supposed to sell your country. How do you sell your country? You're supposed to make your country attractive. You're supposed to be able to attract these persons to bring businesses into your country. If you take Ghana as Africa and make them understand that, listen, if you want to do business in Africa, if you want your business to strive in Africa, it has to be in Ghana. And you begin to market Ghana through the AFCFTA that was spearheaded by Alan Tremantin. If you be able to let them understand that you find all the labor that you need in this country. If you are able to sell our strengths to them. China is China because before they got there, number one, they made the world understand that you would find every single labor in China. And so all the US companies found their ways in China because cost of production was low. They had labor, cheap labor, and all of that. And we have all of these things in this country.
Doc,
what else do we need?
Does the setting of the KPI for the ambassadors or the foreign envoy at least help sanitize the challenge of maybe businesses coming to kick out the locals and all of that? Does it help cure that nearly effect?
And I'll come to that. When the issue of it being a partnership, I think what we need to be mindful of is foreigners that have the drive to come and invest in Ghana are they know the terrain and they are quite smart. So they know you get a lot of tax breaks by having a partnership. So that's usually the route that they pursue when they are coming into this country. So if that is the point that you want to create a loophole for them, I don't think that's the best way to go about this matter. And on the matter of them coming into the country to create jobs, I think one of the reasons why we've been failing as a country from one region to the other when it comes to job creation is because we are not focusing on the caliber and the value of the jobs we are creating. The focus has to move to creating high-value jobs. So the focus in things like this should be trying to attract bigger companies. So you're attracting a company that is worth billions of dollars. Obviously, when they come, they are going to pay their staff very well. And even if you're a security man there, you have a good quality of life. That's when we all begin to grow. But if you are essentially reducing the target to essentially draw in smaller people, then we are not going to see much of a growth, in my opinion. It will be a matter of marking time. With the issue of KPIs, I mean, this is not the first time that this government has come up with some code of conduct or this, that. They came up with a code of conduct not too long ago, and to me, it's almost a joke because the appointees are not living by it. You see them going contrary to it on social media, going contrary to it in their actions. So to me, just writing or giving them KPIs is not enough. We would need to see results of that before we can make any proper analysis of that situation.
Okay. There's this issue of some luxury cars, stolen luxury cars that have been traced to Ghana, and it looks like both the Yoko, Interpol, and FBI have been on it. I don't know if it's in front of the papers, but let's see this one.
It's actually here.
Okay. So what paper is that? The Republic?
That's the New Republic. Okay. Shatawale caught in Yoko's web. I think the full story is on page 2. Likely to be charged for money laundering, tax evasion, and identity fraud. That's interesting. The renowned dancehall sensation and leader of Shatta movement, Charles Niyama Mensah, better known as Shatawale, has found himself ensnared by the clutches of the Economic and Organized Crimes Office, EOCO. The bombshell arrest unfolded yesterday, August 20th, 2025, and even now, Shatawale remains firmly in the spotlight, undergoing intense interrogation, all under the watchful eyes of his legal team. Insiders familiar with the situation have disclosed that the musician faces serious allegations of harboring illicit gains linked to the high-profile seizure of a Lamborghini Urus just weeks prior. Shockingly, whispers suggest that Shatta Wale's financial streams may be tainted with the taint of money laundering and identity fraud, with an apparent lack of receipts casting doubt on the ownership of the controversial luxury vehicle. There's more, but I think we can leave it there.
Okay. Do you have anything on that? Well, let me give you another. So in Ghana, the Police Criminal Investigation Department has recently recovered 43 high-value luxury cars that were stolen abroad and illegally imported into the country between January and July 2025. Now, these vehicles include brand new cars like the Rolls-Royce, Audi, Porsche, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz, and were stolen from several countries, including the Netherlands, Spain, Belgium, Canada, USA, Germany, Italy, and France. And so out of the 43, out of the 43, 18 of them, the EOCO, Interpol, FBI together have said that they have finished investigating the Nana others to speak on why you don't believe it?
Oh, no, I do. I'm just surprised about some of these.
Is this new? Maybe it's not new. It's not new, but it's just between January and July.
It is because now we have decided to do everything on social media, and because some of these investigations in the past, money laundering has been done. People have been arrested. People have gone through it. I mean, others are, and you see, my problem is that they do not even give us the entire story. They give to us in bits. So it makes grasping of it very difficult. Yesterday, I think that there was another car that was brought in town. And just when it was brought in town, we also had another news that Shatta Wale has been arrested. And so, you see, nobody is giving us the entire breakdown.
But that's very noted of investigative bodies. You're not given the entire story.
So, you see, this is an ongoing investigation. Let's skip it away. When you are done and you want to address the media, you want to address and make the people of Ghana understand, then you make us understand.
I think what has become prominent is that the problem has highlighted Ghana as a role of hub for stolen cars. So this was not new. Yeah. Oh, Ghana. I didn't think
that was quite
from Canada. Most of the stolen cars from Canada. In fact, a classmate of mine he bought a car, registered the car here in Ghana about 3-4 years ago. Here in Ghana, he was just driving and they stopped him. They checked the chances number.
It's stolen.
And it's stolen.
So you as a purchaser, you're likely not to even know that the car you're buying is.
So that's
you understand? So it's a serious thing. We seem to be playing with it because probably there is an entertainer involved, a musician involved, and see. So everybody wants to. But these are serious matters.
They happen.
They happen. We need.
What do you have? You want to take a bite on it? We're wrapping up.
I think that is an age-old problem.
An age-old problem.
Ghana, Nigeria have been on the list for a long time now. Years. I remember many years ago when I used to manage hotel. That was business people used to do. I mean, and the flurry with which we have all these car dealer shops is something that's been investigated. Maybe there are no controls on which car comes in and at what rate is even sold and all that. They make abnormal profits. Somebody buys a car,
$800,
and come to Ghana, he's selling it worth about $20,000. So it looks
not
like
Dr. K and I just doing the math in our mind. Well, we're wrapping up our conversation of that.
It's a very booming industry, and people have taken a lot of advantage of it.
Okay.
You see, Shatta Wale is not the only one. He made it his own public by going live and all that stuff. So a lot of things have been investigated. Some cars have been repatriated. FBI has been in town. Interpol has been in town to do their job and all that. So I think it's an ongoing conversation.
This is just to let you know that you should have tighter surveillance, and that's what the Criminal Investigation Department is asking of you, the public. But Dr. Lady,
Yeah, just the last. I just on the back of Nane's submission, I hope there's a way they can let us know, because it's beginning to look like it can happen to anyone.
That can happen to anyone. You see, what happens is that those countries, the people go to steal the cars.
And they ship it.
And they keep them in their garages and other places for some time. They have a way of, messing around with their chances numbers. They have a way of doing it. And then they come to sell it. But, oh, you are a hustler, like me. Oh, no. Then somebody offers you to sell, but I don't miss my thought. To sell a car to you for about $1,000. You would gladly buy it and ship it down.
That is suspicious. I will not. But
that is why we should applaud Alan Chamantin for actually bringing in
mobile
development policy.
Under the NPP Communications Directorate, we've also had Nanaya Osapon, Movement for Change. We've also had Wanda Madilo, Development Analyst and member of the NDC Communications team. This is the AM show. You want to stay? We'll be back shortly.